You are listening to Balloon Killers. I'm your host, Chrissy Riley, and each episode I'll be talking to someone from the world of cowboy mounted shooting, which is one of the most exciting and fastest growing equestrian sports. Hold on to your hats because it's going to get western. My guest for this episode is the commander of the CMSA Cavalry Troop. Ken Jardine was the 2023 Cavalry World High Points Trooper and Cavalry Commander. He knows absolutely everything there is to know about cavalry, and he is always helping people on the Mounted Shooter Soapbox on Facebook, answering cavalry questions. You might also have seen some of his articles in CMSA's Rundown magazine. Now, it's fitting that I interviewed Ken for this 4th of July episode because I first met him in Pueblo, Colorado, exactly a year ago at the Colorado Mounted Thunder's 4th of July shoot, where he talked me into borrowing one of his cavalry uniforms to shoot in the cavalry class. He was just so passionate and enthusiastic about cavalry that I couldn't say no. And now I have my own uniform and flap holsters, so obviously his plan to recruit me for cavalry worked. I hope you enjoy listening to our conversation. So good morning, Ken. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Not too bad, thank you. Whereabouts are you today? I know that you move all over the place.
Well, right now, I'm in my home here in Cape Breton. Can you still see me okay? My phone is going wonky here.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. Anyway, so I'm at my home in Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia, which is north of Maine. For me to get to the United States border is about a 10-hour drive from here, 10 or 12-hour drive, just to get to the Maine border to cross in, and then I got another 3 days of driving to get to our place in Florida. This time last year, I was out with you guys.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
Yeah.
Actually, before we get talking about this year, I'd love you to tell us about what you did last year because it was really quite impressive.
Okay, so I've had a bucket list trip in my mind for about 5 years now to travel across the U.S. and Canada. I didn't get the Canadian part in yet, but to travel across the U.S. with my horse and do mounted shooting all over. I'd love to shoot in every single state, but anyway. So last year it was a lot of administrative effort, etc. But I got a permission from your immigration people to stay for 10 months, which is much better than the normal 6 months. I'm limited to 6 months at a time. I wanted to be the highest, season highest points cavalry for the season. 2 years in a row, I came second because I'd have to leave in May, and by September, somebody would get enough points to catch up and beat me. And I was like, this is so. It's just something I wanted to do for myself, just to see, if I could do. Plus, I really wanted to see across the country. So basically, I put on 30,000 miles or more. Shot 40 out of 42 or so weekends out of 45. And me and my little truck and my little 3-horse trailer, my great horse, we took off and away we went. And the longest stretch I stayed anywhere is I stayed with Rob Rickauer there in Colorado Springs. And I based out of his place went there after shooting at Fort Robinson in Nebraska there. And so after that, I went to Rob's, and I was about 6 weeks basing at his place. And you guys got a lot of shooting out there. But anyway, so that's what I did. I went all over the country promoting cavalry. I had about 4 sets of loaner kit with me. I was loaning stuff out to people. I was shooting cavalry. I got some clubs to do cavalry 2 days in a row, which is very unusual. And just chasing points across the country. And that's what I did. I had a great time.
And did you achieve your goal?
I did indeed. Yes. Yeah, I did. I got it. And I actually... And I was right on the heels of me was my buddy Mike Llewellyn, who was Mike is a 2-time flipping winner of this thing. And Mike was going for overall national points. And so a few times Mike passed up cavalry opportunities, so he'd go to a bigger shoot and get open class points and such. And we were kind of, he'd win and I'd come second, I'd win, and he could, when we were shooting against each other quite often. But at a couple of key shoots, I had a really good day. And in cavalry, he didn't have his best day. So that's the nature of the sport, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, so that's what I did last year. It was fantastic. I just had so much fun. Everybody was I cannot say enough about how great and how nice everyone was during my travels.
Yeah, that's one thing that we always say about the shooting community. Such a great community. And actually, I was one of the people that you lent a cavalry outfit to in Pueblo, Colorado. That was
Colorado.
my first.
Yeah.
That was my very first cavalry. I do intend to keep doing it. So thank you for introducing me to cavalry in that way.
Yeah, well, it's a great aspect of mounted shooting that I've really taken to heart, and I'm glad you got to try it. It's I always say it can't be that hard. I can do it. It can't be.
So how about this year? How's this year going for you? Have you been shooting very much? What have been successes and challenges?
Yeah, so this year, actually, for a very, very short year, I got I did all right, I did all right. We couldn't go back into the US until January. Normally we'd go down in late October, mid-November and stay till May or so. This year, we couldn't go in until the new year because I had stayed for so long in 2023. So January, I went down, and I always try to arrange a stop. So I stopped in North Carolina on the way, and I shot all the club shoots at the Double L. I did all their shoots last year, and I knew I would. And they're very big. They do cavalry a lot. So it's about an 8-hour drive one way for me from Florida. But I try to arrange it going south as a layover too. And Dave and Pam, usually I get to their place in Franklinton there and stay with them a bit. Anyways, so when I was there, they had the rewards for the previous season. And I was surprised. I ended up getting a saber for cavalry. I was High Points Cavalry for the season. So I got a saber, and I had a win on a borrowed horse, and long story there, but for another time. But I did really great there. And then I got to Florida, and like 2 weeks later, we had the state shoot, the Florida state shoot. And the biggest thing that happened to me there was there were in cavalry, there was like 12 people, which in Florida, that's, we always have a lot in cavalry. And I really wanted to win the state buckle in cavalry. So, and I did. I had like the same old thing. I had a great day, and a couple of the other hot dogs didn't. So I got that. And then was main match on Saturday for the state shoot. There were 7 senior men's fives. I needed 1 win. I got my 5th win as a senior men's 5 last year at the start of the season. And people are saying, you'll be a 6 before the end of the season. You're going to so many shoots. Couldn't get a qualified win. I hit the post so many times. 1 balloon away at Cavalry Worlds, and I would have had to move up to a 6 and the whole bit. Just couldn't get there. We've all been there, right? Mm-hmm. So there's 4 of us out of the 7 that need 1 win to move up at the state shoot. So it was nail biter, and I was able to hold it together and get the win there. So that was I had, as I say, considering my season was very short, because and on purpose we planned that, and we had a big trip to Africa of all things. So we left in April, and then we ended up back home here. The trip got cut short, but that's another story. But anyways, so yeah, last year was quite the I did okay. that one shoot, I got my cavalry, I got a senior men's 5 buckle, and I moved up. So I did the move up dance there and it was with my peeps in Florida's my home club, and it was great to do. And even took the saber and did a bottle of champagne with it, cut the top off it and stuff.
I've heard about that famous trick.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Again, it can't be that hard. I can do.
So tell us about how you got into mounted shooting.
Well, I didn't start riding. I'm 60. I'll be 63 in 6 weeks. I didn't start riding until I was about 50, 51. Now, my wife and I are together 25 years. Jean's been riding since she was 12. So from day one when we're together, I'm around horses and I'm mucking them and stuff. And I like being in the barn in the morning, but I didn't ride at all because I had a diving business. So in the summer, when here, there's only a summer season because it's, winters like you guys, we get the winter and there's no competitions or anything in the dead of winter. For barrel racing, that's what she was into, barrels and poles. So anyway, she after 15 years, she finally says, "You're getting a horse." I had started doing a little bit of trail riding. So she gets me a horse, and it was a barrel horse. And I said, "I have no interest in competing." And I famously said to her, "I will never, ever compete on a horse. Stop asking me to enter barrels. I'll trail ride with you. I'll announce at stuff and that." So 2013, she wants to go to Congress. It's a bucket list trip for her. Biggest horse show, biggest barrel race in the country and everything. So off we go to Congress. She gets in there, and this is like 6 months after cancer surgery, and she wins a flip and buckle in pole bending at Congress, and she's very good. She's a much better rider than I am. So while we're at Congress, but the third day she says, "Come with me, come on." And I'm sitting in the stands watching people, and she said, "We're just come on." So we go across the midway there into another, and I see these people wearing stuff like this with guns, and I thought they're making a TV commercial. So we go up the stairs and come out on the upper deck, because Congress has like 6 giant indoor arenas or something, a place that's massive there. And I step out, and there's a bunch of balloons in the ring. I'm looking down. I said, "Okay, here comes Cowboy Jim," or whoever it was. And Buddy comes running out, and bang, 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 bang. Now, I'm a weapons tech from military and a lifelong hunter. As soon as he pulled the first shot, I knew it was a blank. And I thought, who thought of this? Why didn't I think, well, this is brilliant. I just couldn't believe it. So there's a guy standing there wearing holsters, and I go over to him. I said, "Buddy, what's the deal?" He's, "Oh, fastest growing sport, la, 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 la." And I said, "This is a thing?" He said, "Oh, yeah." And I looked, and there was a pretzel guy behind me here, and there was a beer guy behind me here. And I said to my wife, "I'll see you in 3 days." And I sat there, and I talked to everybody, and that was it. That was it. I was just absolutely hooked. And I made my balloon sticks because I didn't have pistols. I had long guns for hunting and that. I made my balloon sticks that winter because we were heading to Florida from there. It was late October. And I actually went and got the stuff and made balloon sticks a year before I ever fired at them, just so I could feel like I was involved. So that's how I got introduced to it. And then she got me lessons with a guy named Tom Block in Florida. And if you've been around a long time, Tom's actually retired from man and shooting now, but Tom gave me my first lessons. We stayed at his ranch, the Flying Bee Ranch there, and I got my first lessons from him. And then on to my good friend Gil Dominguez, who Cavalry, Tom and Gil were the general and the colonel for the cavalry troop in Florida. And they got me into cavalry. They said, "If we're going to show you how to shoot, you're going to do cavalry because it's going to make you better, faster." So I started shooting at 52 or 53. I started riding. I started shooting about a year later. And I was, other than being able to handle the guns, I was the worst rider. People, Johnny Giannossi told me, he said, "Ken, I don't know." When I started getting better, he said, "When you first started, man, we thought every time you went in, we thought you were going to die." So I had a big learning curve to do there, yeah.
So you've probably talked about this a little bit already in your last answer, but what do you love about the sport?
It's the people. That's bottom line. It's the people is the main thing. To do it with my wife is fantastic. To be able to share her sport, because she shared when we got together. I was like the 500-pound gorilla. I was the level 6. Locally, I was the Zane Shun of scuba diving here. That's what I did for a living. I was a commercial diver, a military diver and stuff. And she did all that with me for our first number of years together. Boating, she got into scuba. We went on diving vacation. But now I can and I'm not returning the favor because I'm having a ball. But to be able to go with her and do this and to go all over the country. The other thing is I like the adrenaline rush. It's something I didn't expect because I thought horses were like a 4-wheeler. You pull back, they stop, you do that, you kick them, they go, you pull here and here. That I honestly thought that's how horses work when I first started riding. And to be able to get on a horse now and have him do stuff when I trail ride with no hands and have him move just so he moves to the left of that dandelion up ahead and stuff, those little nuance, and to get along with him. And when I notice there's something wrong with my horse and stuff, because again, I haven't been, like you guys, people that have been around this all their lives, the horse, my buddy Eric Anderson, if the horse flicks its tail and Eric's 100 feet away, he can look at it and say, okay, there's something wrong with him. That's not me. But now that I can notice these things, and that the relationship with the horse is something I really didn't expect. So I guess it's a combination of the adrenaline rush, the people, and the animal. Yeah, it's been a really rewarding experience for me.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of horsemanship to be good at shooting. And I think that's something that when people are watching for the first time, I think that's something they actually realize quite fast is the guns and the speed. It takes horsemanship to get accuracy and to get fast times.
My wife has said, like, and her barrel racing friends kind of look at her sideways, but she said it's much more challenging in a certain ways for horsemanship. Like barrel racing, you're trying to reproduce the best run you ever did, a tenth of a second faster every time, right? That's what you're trying to do. But with us, of course, pick a stage. I ran it this way last time. You know what? I'm going to go up the other side this time. See if and it's just so interesting. You're right about the horsemanship thing, big time. Yeah.
So obviously you are dressed for cavalry right now, and cavalry is one of your passions. And I think everybody who knows of Ken Jardine knows that cavalry is his passion. So can you tell us about the origins of the cavalry class and why it became your passion?
Well, cavalry turned 25 last year, so it was its 25th anniversary. The folks I started with, like the Peacemakers, that club has always been very big in doing cavalry, right? So when I started there, I was just looking for more stages. I used to shoot everything. I used to shoot cavalry, rifle, shotgun, main match. I tried to get in Wrangler, they wouldn't let me. I wanted to pull the trigger. Bottom line, I just wanted to pull the trigger as much as I could to get as much time in, because I knew I had an awful lot. I had to shoot an awful lot in the 6 months that I'm in the US to get proficient to where I wanted to be, So cavalry was another opportunity. And a lot of people, when you interviewed Dee there, Dee started shooting cavalry, as you know, wearing this jacket. When she first shot cavalry, this is what Dee wore, which was a lot bigger on her. Anyways, and people are realizing that, like Bruce Travers there, I'm looking for, so say I got a new horse I'm working on or what have you. Well, I don't want to blow my main match opportunity with my good horse. And on a young horse, especially, doing 4 stages over the course of 5 or 6 hours isn't necessarily the best thing for a new horse. So people are starting to come to cavalry because you don't want to be doing long guns with them and stuff, right? So they're coming to cavalry as an opportunity to season up horses they're bringing along or what have you, right? That's for more experienced riders. But for people that want to get better at it, you want to be shooting cavalry because, again, it's an extra I get 50% more stages in than someone who's not shooting cavalry. The stalls, the trailer, the fuel, everything costs the same. It's just that extra $50 to shoot cavalry. So anyway, cavalry started out, Jim Rogers, the inventor of Cowboy Men and Shooting, he was also a reenactor. And I talked to Jim. I did an article in the Rundown about 1.5 years ago here. I hauled it out. So about 5 years ago, I hauled the article out so I could just go over it again because I knew you were going to ask me this question. But it started out with just a bunch of guys that were reenactors and gals and saying, well, let's do this too. And then they had to come up with stuff for the flat bolsters. And the first cavalry pistols, you had to use 1800 style pistols that broke in the middle and stuff. It was long. It was very rare for someone to go clean, no matter how good you were. Because it's like in rifle, you can be the best going. If the gun jams, doesn't, and it happens, right? They're machines. So cavalry, started 25 years ago from reenactors, people that were big time into that stuff, like past presidents like Ken Barker, Eric Anderson, folks like that. They kept cavalry going, over the years. But its origins are almost as old as CMSA.
You've done a lot for cavalry since you took over in 2017. So can you tell us about some of the biggest innovations?
Well, Eric made probably the biggest one. He was my predecessor. And Eric campaigned hard to get them to allow Western saddles in cavalry. We used to have to wear the old style McClellans, Hope saddles. I had actually looked like an English saddle. And I'm a level 1, and my wife said, "This is the saddle for you to start." And I'm a new shooter. I said, "I'll fall off of that thing." It was actually a police patrol saddle, had a high cantle and nothing on the front. And I got some Western fenders made up, decorative, because it had the English straps, and you know what they do to your calves, right? So anyway, Eric got the saddle thing changed, and some people were a little ticked at that. But for the most part, the proof's in the pudding. We went from an average of 60 people or so a year shooting cavalry to over 100, almost overnight when they changed that, right? And as I say to the old guard, the grumpy old men, as I am one of them, when they say it, I say, well, look, just keep riding your cavalry saddle. We're not making you do it, but invariably they'll put the Western one on. It's hard too if you're shooting main match right after cavalry. It's very hard to switch saddles, and that it throws your game off. And it was keeping people from the class, I think. So the saddle thing was a biggie. Now, as far as the things that I've done, I rewrote the rules. The first thing I did was the wording. And again, I did this with my cavalry board. There's nothing done according to Ken Jardine. I consult all the time. I talk to members, and they don't have any problem coming forward with their opinions, of course, the good old men of shooters. But got a few things changed, like we can now, there are dedicated cavalry stages. Used to be if you did any stage at all in the book was good for cavalry, but now there's dedicated stages because, I mean, sometimes you go to shoot and they pull it out of a hat and they pick the arrow. Try doing the arrow with a flap holster. It's not fair to the new, like guy like me, I can do it, right? I got very, very good with it. Helps your whole, do you have trouble with your gun change sometimes?
Yes.
I'm telling you, cavalry, anybody out there watching this, if you're having gun change trouble and that, you start doing cavalry. I guarantee your main match is going to get, your gun change problems are going to go away very quickly. It's a big help, right? So got that done. Just basically reworded, rededicated cavalry to being a military tribute class, which we are. We're a military tribute class of the CMSA, and we're the only horse sport I know that has a dedicated class. Paying homage to our forefathers, right? Few other rule things we got done were, well, this year there's a new one coming out. Is well, the nurses thing, that was a good one too. The very nice uniforms come out of the nurses crowd. But the other thing is this year is there's a few uniform changes going to make it a lot better. Is that the bib shirt? Do you know what a bib shirt is, or plasterin shirt?
Mm-hmm.
That's, you're going to see it in the next rundown article. There's a bit on it. We're going to be allowed to wear the bib shirt.
Oh, yay.
With suspenders and a scarf. Okay, so you can't just show up in a bib shirt and away you go, but you got to wear, and proper pants, period correct pants. So that's a big change because we were shooting in Florida in 102 degrees. And we got people that, we have one lady, retired Marine, she's 82 years old and asking to wear this, right? It's not safe. So anyway, we got that done, which is the advisory board. I had to come up with a uniform that, because there's always the concern that we're going to lose our authenticity. You know, we're kind of Hollywood correct. We're not, used to be, it was very, in the origins of man shooting, cavalry was very, very correct in the uniforms as well. Now we're what we call Hollywood correct. Looks good from 30 feet. So yeah, that's a few of the things that I got. That I got support from the advisory board to change some stuff like that. Yeah,
That's exciting with the bib shirt, because I remember when I tried cavalry in Pueblo, it was July, really, really hot, and I was in the wool coat and
yes, no, that was very hot. Yeah,
sitting
beautiful spot.
outside that arena and
Yeah,
in that wool coat, I was very, very hot, and
yeah.
probably did impact how I shot, because I was
Mhm.
really excited about taking the wool coat off in the end.
Well, the other thing too, though, is what people don't realize. I've shot cavalry at shoots in January in North Carolina when there was ice in the dog dish. When you come out of the trailer in the morning, the dog dish is there and there's ice on it. And I wore a cavalry jacket. People, cavalry's tomorrow. I say, yeah, that doesn't matter. I'm wearing it today because it's bloody cold and it's a covered arena. It's not an indoor arena. It's just covered, and it was windy. So we're used to shooting in our jackets with our coats. And so when it's colder, we have an advantage over the non-cavalry shooters, I think. This is turning into the cavalry interview.
That was kind of my plan all
Yeah,
along.
yeah. Yeah, cavalry though, I'll tell you the line I hear all the time from people. I'll shoot cavalry when I get better. And you may have said that to me, actually. I know I was going
I
to wait till I
did
get
say
better.
that to you. I
And
did.
I dare say my stock answer to that is you're thinking about it the wrong way. You don't start shooting cavalry for when you're better. You start shooting cavalry to get better. That's how you get better, right? As I say, just more time. Let's face it, most new shooters, what do you need? More time in the ring, more time in comp. It's great to practice at home and all, but the more time you can be in competition. And the nature of the flat holster, it's like shotgun. You know, you can have the best shooter in the CMSA. We've all seen it. And they shoot at a cluster of 3 and 2 of them break. Well, I call the flat holster the great equalizer. If you have a good day with your flat holsters and I don't, you're going to beat me. Even though I'm faster, you're going to beat me every time. And if the top dogs make a mistake, any penalty at all, right? In a 4-stage match, they can outrun the miss, right? A level 6 can beat a level 3, even with a miss, generally speaking, because you can outrun it over 4 stages. You can't outrun it over 2 stages. So you really do have a better chance in a 2-stage match in cavalry, as long as you go clean as everything.
Mm-hmm. You answer a lot of questions from people wanting to get into cavalry on mounted shooter soapbox. I see it a lot. What are some
Yeah.
of your top tips?
Let's see here. What did I actually made a few notes on this because I didn't want to miss out. Shooting. Right. My main one is to just do it. Start shooting cavalry. Don't wait. Get into it. You're going to get better. Talk to your other troopers. We will loan you stuff. I've got right now. I was able to get a bunch of surplus U.S. cavalry, real deal, blankets, pads, and stuff like that. Some jackets, though. That was the biggie. We got a bunch of jackets. So now the advisory board members around the country, as I get them distributed, are going to actually have loaner kit for people to use, right? That you can borrow it and try it once. And I can understand people not wanting to go out and buy all the stuff first time, right? And so loaner kit and that. But the main thing with cavalry, my main tip is just do it. Just get doing it. And then, of course, when you practice at home, practice with the flap holsters. Don't practice with your main holsters, and your gun change will get better. Yeah, talk to the other troopers. They know a lot of good stuff on site that they can give you too.
I know that you've done some experimenting with guns. Can you tell us about that and how it's impacted your choice of guns?
Well, I've been doing articles for the Rundown now for 2016, I think was my first one, and I've been in every one. I've had something in every one since, I believe. At first, it wasn't cavalry stuff. It was other things. But my buddy, again, Eric Anderson and I, and Eric's a retired Marine and I'm a retired Air Force weapon tech. And he's a gun safety instructor, et cetera. So we were always talking about which pistol is the better for mounted shooting, barrel length. So I don't know if you saw the article I did in the Rundown, did you?
I don't
About
think
it. That was like 4 years ago or so.
yeah, that was before I started shooting.
It is the most. It is the subject I am questioned on the most, is the ballistic stuff. So we tested the different lengths of barrel for spread and for breaking. So first we did spread, was a big piece of paper with 9-inch circles drawn on it. And we shot at 5 feet, 10, 15, and 20 feet to see how much was in the center. Then we set up balloons and shot from 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 feet to see which guns could break the balloons. And it turns out, and I was really surprised that they used my title when I submitted it, Does Size Matter? So they used the title of it, so that was kind of fun. And so it turns out that, yes, the longer barrel can break a balloon from much farther away. However, you have to be a little more accurate because it's much more, at the close shots, it doesn't spread out as much. You don't have as much room for error, as it were. So that was probably my most quoted or most questioned I still get calls the odd time from people about that.
You've really geeked out on this stuff, huh?
Yeah, kind of a little bit. Yeah. I yeah, I did that. I did the virtual mounted shooting. Did you get into before or after COVID?
Way after COVID. I've only been doing it for a couple of years.
Okay, so if you can picture this, March of 2020, we're driving back here, totally zipped up the truck, like not touching anything. I mean, we were spraying Lysol on cardboard boxes that were delivered by Amazon. It was, people forget, we all kind of try to forget that now. But so managed shooting basically stopped. And I was in the middle of my season. And within about 2 weeks, it went from COVID, that's just a thing in Europe, to all of a sudden it's going to kill us all. Right. So I'm driving home from the States, and I'm depressed by my shooting. I wasn't as worried about COVID as I thought that probably society was going to be hurt a lot more from the overreaction than we were going to be disease itself, which I believe will bear out to be true when we get to look at this 20 years ahead. And I'm thinking there must be a way to do this online, right? So I come up with virtual managed shooting, whereby I would put out 2 stages on a Facebook page every Monday morning, and they were condensed courses because most people only have maybe 60 by 100 their rings at home, so they were condensed. And I was trying to think, how do you time it though? Not everyone owns a timer. So I come up with, you video it and have a stopwatch, replay the video. When you hear the first bang, hit the start. When you hear the 10th bang, hit the stop. And that's how we did the virtual managed shooting. And I thought 20 people would try it or something like that. We ended up with 80 people the first week, and then over 100 every week for 12 weeks after that. So that was kind of a give back thing for me. Everybody was like, "Oh, Ken, it's great that you did that," but no, it was they saved me from going nuts. It was something good that came out of something bad, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I love that, and I can imagine how it really lifted up people during a really tough time.
I got some messages from people, private messages. One was a lady that said, she sent me a private message. She and her husband and her son and her father shot that day. And I said, gee, the old guy, he did good. He's 80. He had not shot in about 5 years, and he had thought he would never ever get to shoot with his grandson because he couldn't do the drive in the truck. He couldn't do 4 stages sitting on a horse. All he had to do was get off the porch, come up. They had the horse saddle, everything. Just went in, shot a stage. They reset it. He shot the second stage. He was done. He got to shoot with, stuff like that you wouldn't expect, stuff. And I got a ton of things like that happened as a result of it. So yeah, you never know. You never know the road life's going to take you on, I guess.
Some blessings coming out of a really bad time.
Yeah, that really was, yeah.
What's the one shoot that you don't miss each year, and why not?
I don't have one. I love them all. I'm not kidding you. I tried to think of one. If you said, what's the best shoot you ever went to? What's the one you had the most fun at? It'd be Fort Rob. But it wasn't just that. It was 3 days at a historic site. I get up in the morning. I took my horse for a trail ride. There's longhorn cattle. I come around a tree and there's John Wayne. Hey, how you doing? It was incredible. You got to do Fort Rob, especially if you're a trooper. You have to do that shoot. But as far as I love them, I do shoots. I've been at shoots where the senior men's 6th class was bigger at nationals than the whole shoot was, with the Bay Area Bandits in Florida. I used to have very small, like 14, 15 people, and just have a ball. So I don't have one. As far as I don't miss it, you got to get out, make your way out to Nebraska for that one. And the Florida Peacemakers New Year's shoot. Who doesn't want to be in Florida in the winter? The New Year shoot that Florida puts on has turned into a huge shoot. It has as many, if not more people than some national shoots some years. So those are ones that I guess I really like.
I love Fort Rob too. I did that one last year, and it was definitely a highlight of last year for me.
Yeah, it was great.
What's your favorite pattern and why?
Okay, and same answer. I don't have one, but this is calculated. This is not flippant. I've done a lot of reading and studying on the mental aspect of winning there's a book called With Winning in Mind, and the guy was an Olympic shooter, and Eric got me onto that book. And then I've done some more stuff on positive reinforcement. I was a scuba instructor, positive reinforcement. So when someone's standing there looking at the 4 stages, and you look, and invariably you'll hear someone, and generally speaking, it's a newer shooter, and they'll say, "Oh God, I hate that one." Right off the bat, you just put yourself at a disadvantage. You just made the next 20 minutes or hour till you get up there torturous for yourself. And quite often, if you kept really detailed records, I bet you'd find that the ones that you really don't like, that you have more success on them because you're nervous, so you're paying more attention, you're concentrating more, and that. So it's a self-fulfilling. It can be a self-fulfilling prophecy to say I don't like, and I always say my horse likes them all. I always say, oh, my horse loves that stage. I say it different. You get up in the morning and you feel, a little run down or this or that. Like this morning when I got up, it was drizzly and rainy out and that, and I'm like, oh. I get all cleaned up. I got a shower and a shave and stuff, which I don't normally do first thing in the morning because I'm doing burn work and what have you. And I feel better. Same thing mentally. When you look at stages, do not have a favorite, or don't at the very. You can have one that I really love that stage, but the ones, don't have one that you hate. Have one that you have to overcome. Then when you do it well, which I had, what's that one? You come in and you shoot. There's 5 of them. Then you come around and there's 5 more. Some people shoot the top 5 first. I call it the double nickel. It looks like 2 dice. If you look at it from above, it looks like 2 dice sitting beside you.
Yep.
I struggled with that thing forever. When I finally went clean on that and fast, it was like, that was my favorite stage. So my worst became my favorite. Yeah. It's a little bit long answer there, sort of with that, but really mentally, that's don't have a stage that you hate.
No, I really appreciate that actually, because when I was in Rock Springs, it was a few weeks ago now. One day, the first stage, it had a really tight barrel turn, and my horse, he's a big guy, and I have in my head that he doesn't turn tightly.
Yeah.
So as soon as I saw that stage, as soon as I saw that barrel, I was like, we are gonna, that is not gonna work for us. This is gonna be the worst stage. Well, I tell you what happened. It was so interesting that you say that, because we went into the arena, the barrel turn was like one of the first parts of that stage. He stopped as we tried to turn the barrel. Now, I don't think that's him. I actually think that that's me telling him, we can't do this. We're not going to do this. We're not going to make this. And then we stopped right exactly where I was worried about it. And it was a really good indicator to me. I really reflected on this a lot afterwards. How much did I impact that? And my mindset around that barrel turn.
And the other thing too, give yourself a break. I mean, and I say it, I see people come out when I'm range mastering and that, and of course the 6s range master the 1s, which is, and then they have to range master, the least experienced people have to range master the fastest people. It's weird. That's one weird thing in the sport, but I've seen people coming out and you can tell they're as mad as a wet hen, or they're disappointed, or they're embarrassed. And especially kids, I'll stop them as a range master and come over and say, listen, blah, 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 you missed 3 balloons and that. But I'm telling you, that first gate you hit, so find something. There's something good in every stage. That stage you just talked about. Maybe you hit the timer line at a run. Maybe you hit all your balloons. Maybe your gun change was really good. Don't dwell on the bad stuff. I got to write an article about this because I think a lot of people unwillingly, and you can't help yourself. You can't help what you feel. You can't help what you think. A thought enters your head. It's too late. It's there. And if you're unfortunate enough to be me, it probably comes out of your mouth too. but don't dwell on. If I have videos of a run, the video of a run where I made a mistake and I missed and I did this and did that, I'll watch it once, maybe twice. And when I'm looking at it, I say, okay, what did you do wrong? How do you not do that again? That's the main thing. You gotta figure out what you did wrong. But how do you not do it again? Put that in the old brain bank, and I delete that video and never want to see it again. I got videos of, I got a 3-fer in Florida one time. Were you in Wyoming when I got the 3-fer last year?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Nobody has a video then.
I
I get
know.
freaking
I
free for it.
remember everyone asking for
It was
the
like
if there was
300
a
people,
video.
wasn't it? Like 200 people in the stands. It was the showcase Cavalry in the evening. I
Uh-huh.
put it bang, and I went like that, boom, and all three of them went.
Yeah.
Not a video. I'm like, oh, I would pay big money to have a video of that. I will watch those videos many, many times. Not out of a vanity thing. Yes, it's fun to watch yourself do well, right? But it's when you watch it, it's to figure out, okay, what did I do right there? And it's inside of you, even if you're not, with a notebook and making notes, that you're just watching it. You're instilling a mental muscle memory of success. Whereas if you watch the videos that you screwed up, you're all you're doing is you're reinforcing that in your mind. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
So so that's my advice on the patterns is don't have a favorite, don't have find something good. Every run you make, you do something really well.
Good to
Guaranteed.
know.
Yep.
What's a little known fact about you?
I have something, and I tried to think that because how could you know much about me, really? But I have something in common with balloons. I was actually fired upon. I was a professional target when I was in the Air Force. I was a part of a very, very small, there were only 7 of us in the country. And I've been fired on by Americans, Canadians, British, with live ammunition. I'm not joking. 5-inch round shells, that long. I had a job flying backseat in a fighter jet, a little training jet. And I was a weapons tech. And I wasn't a pilot. I ran target equipment, and we would tow a target. We'd take off, and the targets are hung under the wing. And I had machines, and I did all kinds of stuff. And I played this big styrofoam target, played it out behind the aircraft. We towed it 2 miles behind us, and we would make circles. And the Navy, and we did it on some army bases too. They would fire at the targets. So that's something people don't know because, well, not just me. I mean, how many people had that job, right? I was a professional target. I was fired upon, and I didn't get a medal for coming under fire either. So
That
that's
sounds
there.
very frightening.
Oh, it was the most fun job. And people talk like managed shooting is an adrenaline rush. If you're doing it, no matter what speed, what level you are, a level 1 that does a 45-second run comes out of there out of breath. A level 6 that does the same run in 12.2 comes out of there with a big smile on and out of breath. The only thing that I ever did that was more exciting than managed shooting was flying in a jet for 2 years. That was so that's something maybe people didn't know about me.
You're certainly an adrenaline junkie, I think.
just a little, yeah.
So this one, because you were on the road so much last year, I asked Dee this one, but I think this one is a good one for you too. What's the most useful thing in your trailer when you're on the road? What should we all have?
Okay, well, people that don't travel the miles that I do, because I drive from 3,600 constantly, like 2,500 miles twice a year. I drive 2,500 miles, Florida and back, towing a horse trailer. So here's what you want to have. One of those wheel ramps. So you can, if you get a flat on one of your trailer tires, you put the ramp by the other tire and back, and you can get them metal. I've never seen them at a trailer shop in metal, but I know you can buy them online, because the plastic ones, if you're on dirt, they'll break unless you put a board under them. So you want to have the ramp. You want to have an impact gun, electric impact gun. If you have a generator in your trailer or bring a small generator with you, you can go to Harbor Freight or one of those places, $30. And make sure you got the proper stuff and have it just for that. Don't use it for nothing else. And have a spare. This is the other biggie. You don't realize. So you're going along, you get a flat in your horse trailer. So you put your spare on. I still got 2,000 miles to go. I'm only halfway, right? You can't get horse trailer tires on the side of the highways. The big Love's places, those tire places, they don't have them. So when you get new trailers for your tires for your horse trailer, don't throw away the old ones. Keep the best, and for me, I keep 2 of them. We have a spare on a rim, and I got 2 spares on the roof up in the pod on my trailer. And they're worn out tires, but they're get you home tires.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my biggie is have, because there's nothing worse, as everybody knows, being on the side of the road and especially for you ladies out there. I mean, some of us guys were with a 3-foot bar trying to break those nuts off. You can buy an electric impact gun and take those nuts off easily. right? So that's my big kit thing there is have a good spare tire or tire changing kit, right? Ramp, impact gun, and a spare.
Good to know. I'm making a mental note of all of these things I'm learning.
And
So
this isn't me being a genius. This is me, a guy stuck on the side of the road going, now what do I do?
this is experience. I know.
Yeah,
I can hear that.
Yeah.
So where next? What are your plans and ambitions for the future? You've already done so much, but I'm sure you've got new plans in the works.
I do. I know my buddy Tom Hockren and my best friend Gary and I were talking about going back to Fort Robb, but we're going to go out there and rent one of the officers. You know, all those homes that the officers have? You can rent those. They're like an Airbnb type of deal. You can rent them. So I'd like to go back to Fort Robb and stay in the officers' quarters and do that shoot again, and then spend another month. And Rick Hour, I'm coming back. So that's one thing. But really, I thought about it is my next big thing I want to do is I want to be the king of the small shoots. I want to start going to a lot of the small. I've been to all the national level shoots except for I've never been to the winter, the end of the season Worlds. Mm-hmm. I've never been to that, and I think it's in Texas. Mm-hmm. And I've never been to that one. Just logistically, when we get kicked out of the country because we've been in too long, and the distance and everything, it just never worked out. I really want to shoot in Texas. I've been to Africa, and I've been to China, I've been to England. I've never been to Texas.
Oh, wow.
That just ticks me off. I mean, because in the military, you got to travel a lot. And then my wife and I are retired now, so we're traveling a lot as well. But I really want to get out, and I'd like to get to California, and I'd like to get way up into Washington State or on the West Coast. You know, I want to shoot in some more places that I haven't been, and get out there and do some more recruiting.
Well, that's all of my questions for you, Ken. I so appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and I love hearing all about your cavalry passions and your journey through the sport.
Thank you for doing it.
It really was such a joy talking to Ken because he's so passionate, he's so kind and humble. And actually, after our interview, he told me that he had wanted to say that he owes so much to the people who've taken the time to teach him about the sport. He also wanted to thank everyone who joined and helped him on his bucket list trip to the National Cavalry High Points title. For our interview, I want to tell you that Ken showed up in full uniform, and I'm really bummed because I had planned to put the video on YouTube, but of course Zoom only recorded the audio. So apologies, Ken, I've got some tech stuff to figure out, but thank you again so much for taking the time to talk to me. If there are balloon killers you would like to hear interviewed, please email me on balloonkillers@gmail.com. That's balloonkillers, all one word, @gmail.com.